Good evening, everyone. Stacy Portugal here. I'm the woman that helps people lose the weight, gain their confidence, and I do this primarily through low-carb living. So picture this. You are doing really well. You've lost weight, or at the very least are feeling great, feeling in control, and then something happens that takes you off plan. And that's okay, no big deal. But here's the problem. You've gone off plan and now you're having trouble getting back on plan. So this little slip up has just turned into an avalanche and you're struggling. So tonight we're going to talk about why this happens and see if we can gain some clarity that might help us break that cycle of off-plan eating. I mean, it's not just one meal, one day. You know, let's say maybe you went to a party and you were really tempted by the desserts. So you thought, well, I'm just going to have a dessert. It's really not a big deal. Okay, fine. So that one dessert may have stopped there, or you may have sort of avalanched that night because once you started with one dessert, maybe you couldn't stop, whatever it is. But the next morning, you wake up and you're like, I kind of feel like eating a bagel for breakfast. I think I'm going to have a bagel, or I feel like pancakes or some waffles. And just all of a sudden, this need to go off plan is like snowballing. And now you just can't get yourself back on plan. So this is super duper common, getting off plan and then having a difficult time getting back on plan. And honestly, in a way, it doesn't almost matter what took you off plan initially. The idea here is to get back on plan as soon as possible. So why do we struggle with this? What are some ways that we can sort of increase our awareness so that if we go off plan unexpectedly, which is going to happen every now and then, if we do that with this awareness, can we use the awareness to help us get on plan a little bit more quickly by recognizing what's really gone wrong? So if you're watching this, say hello, type it in the chat box. Facebook does not always allow me to see stuff, so I'm hoping you'll send a like or send a hello or even share this video if you think it might be useful for someone you know. All right, so let's sort of dive into the reasons that we may be going off plan. So the first thing is sometimes if we're feeling great, like maybe we've lost weight or just for whatever the reason we're feeling really good, we might decide to add in a little bit more variety. This is super duper common. Many of us do this once we're feeling good. We get a little cocky. It's really not unusual. So you're walking around the grocery store, you're down whatever amount of weight, and you're feeling awesome in your super duper self. And as you're walking around the grocery store, you're like, wow, I'm feeling so good. You know, maybe I'll just buy those cookies because I could fit it into my low carb plan. I mean, I could just have one cookie. And then while you're at the grocery, you have not only purchased the cookies, but now you purchased some other higher carb treats, processed treats especially, and now you've added back a whole bunch of variety in your plan. And here's what happens. Research tells us that when we have too much variety, we tend to eat more. And think about it. Think about how many buffets you've been to that consistently, you find yourself going off plan. So you're in line for the buffet and you've got your plate in front of you and you're looking at the food one dish at a time and everything looks good. So you're just even taking a small amount, you're just taking a little bit of everything that entices you. But we know that when we are presented with too many choices, we will tend to overeat. So adding too much variety until you are at a really important personal goal for yourself could be definitely a red flag. So what I would suggest is if you feel like you need more variety, you should do it more methodically. Okay, so think to yourself, okay, I'm recognizing right now that I've been eating the same kind of stuff all the time. And by the way, I have a lot of super duper successful clients, and I've been doing this for 10 years, and I see this consistently. Many people who are successful at weight loss do tend to eat pretty much the same things every single day. And it's very helpful because they're limiting their variety. Now, a way to kind of combat this, if you're feeling perhaps a little deprived, which puts you at risk for consistently going off plan, is add variety more methodically, like I said. So maybe it's just one meal you'll focus on and you're going to give yourself another alternative or two that fits in with your macros just right, and your body is really never going to know the difference. So we really need to put thought into variety. So adding too much variety could be the reason that you're having difficulty getting back on track. And you just keep finding yourself going off track on a pretty consistent basis. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is simply the idea of lack of consistency. So especially when it comes to low carb dieting, the huge benefit of doing low carb or ketogenic dieting is that when you begin to lower your carb intake to more adequately match your level of energy in your own body, what happens is the cravings dissipate. But if you're not consistent with this notion, you're like in no man's land. You are cutting your carbs one day and adding back the carbs the next day, and then your feet are just they're on both sides of the line. And what can happen is, you have persistent cravings that you never really get a chance to see how it feels to live without these cravings. And B, if you're doing that and you're really more at ketogenic levels of carbohydrates, which is about 20 to 30 grams per day, what could happen is you may be experiencing the keto flu and you're not really giving yourself the chance to actually be in ketosis. So you're like in no man's land all the time. So by being inconsistent on a low carb or ketogenic diet, you are not giving your body the ability to adjust to the plan. And so you may be having the keto flu like all the time, going on for like a month. And so you keep feeling the need to eat carbs to get past the keto flu. Or you're simply doing low carb and you're not giving yourself the benefit of experiencing all that low carb can bring, including lessening of cravings. So that could be another reason that you get off plan and then you're really having a hard time going back on plan. So far, now I just want to interject here really quickly. If you have a question about this topic, go ahead and type it into the comments, whether you're watching me live or you're watching me on replay. Okay, so just to do a quick review before I move on. 2 of the reasons that you may be having a hard time getting back on plan and you're in this cycle of on and off plan eating is, number 1, because you're adding in too much variety, you're not being methodical. Number 2 is you're not giving yourself a long enough period of time to enjoy the benefits of low carb living or ketogenic dieting. Okay. The third, and really a huge component of the mental process of getting ourselves back on track after we've gone off plan, is what's in between your ears. It is all about your mindset. So what I mean by that is it may be old stories, old patterns of thought that are rearing their ugly head once again. Because don't forget that habits are truly really hard to break. It takes an enormous amount of support and an enormous amount of accountability to really make a true lifestyle change. No matter what diet program you've chosen, this holds true. So if you are not aware of that chatter that's going on in your head, you really could have a hard time getting yourself back on plan after going off plan. And you might be in a vicious cycle of on-off plan, and really what I like to call the diet merry-go-round, but in a much shorter term. So let's talk about some examples of old stories, old thought patterns that can just pop up once again and really derail your efforts on a pretty consistent basis. One of them is you may have a fear of hunger. It may just be not even a thought process, but kind of a persistent feeling that you have. And it's a very common way to feel. It's a very common thought pattern that can lead to overeating. So maybe you work a lot of hours, or maybe you just have like a fear of any sort of discomfort, such as hunger. And so my suggestion would be, first of all, if you have a fear of hunger, I think you have to ask yourself the question, is this fear logical? What is the worst that would happen if I were hungry? I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Is the world going to explode? Are you going to die from hunger if you have some hunger pains? Are you going to have some sort of traumatic event? Now, for some people, if you're struggling with blood sugar imbalance, that's another story. And that would take the knowledge and support of a practitioner to help you get through that. But for most of us, if it's just a fear, I think you have to ask yourself whether or not it's a logical fear. Now, let's say your fear of hunger just stems from a time issue. And we all have that from time to time, whether or not we are employed. So if that's the issue, asking yourself, how can I plan my day so that I'm not left hungry, so that I can stick to my plan and get to my goal? Another old story that may come up is just the general category of negative self-talk. And just a couple of examples of negative self-talk might be a lack of confidence that you can achieve your goal or sustain your goal if you've already gotten a goal. So you're thinking to yourself, I'm never going to do this. You have this little voice inside of your head that is doubting your ability to hit your goal or to maintain your goal or to get to goal. And so you sort of have like a what the hell attitude. Like, what the hell, I'm just gonna, this is hopeless. I'm just gonna eat that apple pie because tastes really good, and that old habit is really comforting to me. Another example of some negative self-talk is just overall frustration. Maybe you are middle-aged and you've hit menopause and you are struggling. You're having a really hard time losing weight. And so you are doing okay, but then all of a sudden you go off plan, which we all do, and that little voice inside of your head says, "Oh, I knew you couldn't do it. This is hopeless. You are going to be a fat postmenopausal woman. Just face it. You might as well give up now." And another word for that kind of stuff is black and white thinking. We're thinking in black and white terms, and we're very problem focused, and we've lost our momentum when it comes to getting solutions. So instead of being solution focused, we're problem focused. So the thing between your ears can make a really huge difference in your ability to get to goal. And we all have stories. These are thought patterns. They're kind of like scripts, and they're on like a continuous loop. And we may have avoided it for a little while as we are going along, just moving successfully. Maybe we've let go of that support system that we had because we thought we could, "Oh, I'm good. I've lost 10 pounds. I'm really close to goal. I don't need this anymore." Or maybe you just were tempted and all of a sudden you went off plan just that one time, no big deal, but you're having a really hard time and you find yourself going off plan every day or two. And this is a really good opportunity to think a little bit more carefully, to be aware of that chatter that's going on in between your ears, and to start sort of recognizing it and intercepting it and saying to yourself, okay, I'm realizing that I'm overeating right now because this old pattern of being hungry, fear of hunger, is kind of slipping in my head. So how am I going to handle this? Is there actually a fear that I should have? Is that logical to be afraid of being hungry? So really starting to question that chatter in between your head. So I really want to know, I feel like this business page doesn't show any of my live videos live to my people. So if you're on this business page and you're seeing this post, could you do me a huge favor and share it or like it or comment on it so that my business page wakes up again and that Facebook allows me the reach that I need so that I can serve more people via this page. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I really do appreciate if you like, comment, or share it. And don't be afraid to also talk to me via the comments about what resonated with you in this video. I think for many of us, this is a very common scenario. So let me know what resonated, or just give me a like if it did resonate, or if you just liked it overall. So, or if you're having a good night, give me a like. Okay, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I truly, truly hope it was helpful. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.